These are 3 fat chicks that live in my house. They are jumbo Texas A&M Caternal quail, and I'm going to try to raise them for meat. Hopefully more of them than 3, but anyway. Grandpa often said, before you judge someone, walk a mile in their shoes. Now, if you know they're in sin, I don't recommend that at all, but it does make you think outside of yourself on the topic of discernment versus judging. Do you ever hear the current term judgy? Don't judge me, bro. Well, I've got news for you. Judging happens all the time, especially by the people who demand not to be judged. When Jesus talked about judge not, he immediately followed that statement from Matthew 7:1 with several examples and instructions about how to judge correctly, how to judge graciously, rightly, justly, what circumstances require your judgment, specifically in verse 6 where he talks about the dogs and the swine. It's called discernment. Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't cast your pearls in front of swine, lest they trample them under their feet and tear you to pieces. Okay, so don't spend your time bringing teaching and wisdom, which is pearls, to people who will either ignore you or turn anything you say into a debate or argument. Swine who tear you to pieces. Ben Franklin said, any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. The actual text says, do not give to dogs what is holy, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. Who are the dogs and who are the swine? Who are those who you shouldn't dispense your pearls to? Ed Koch, the former mayor of New York, said, I can tell you, but I can't understand it for you. How about those who cannot or choose not to understand? Are they the swine? Are they the problem? Or is your delivery the problem in that case? Was Jesus talking about misunderstanding, or was he talking about hostility? What about disinterest? What about a swine who says, it's true for you, but not for me? In biblical times, dogs were pretty much exclusively strays. They were scavengers, territorial, dangerous to kids and to the weak. Symbolically, dogs represented immorality, brutality, vulgarity, ignorance. Pigs were officially unclean. They were probably feral in most cases in Israel, but they scavenged and were food aggressive. Throwing them something that wasn't food might just make them mad. So we know the Bible wants us to talk about the gospel. Why would Jesus specifically say, don't waste your time talking to these types? If the Bible tells us to preach the gospel and Jesus in this verse tells us to skip these kinds of people, what then does Jesus expect us to do to determine who is sitting in front of us? Jesus said, judge not, 5 verses before. Now he's clearly saying, determine if the human being listening to you is a dog or a swine before you continue to throw them riches. How do you discern without judging? Proverbs 26:11 says, dogs return to their vomit, which is just saying fools repeat their folly. 2 Peter 2:22 said, washed pigs return to the mud, they repeat their sin. Dogs and pigs ridicule, reject, and blaspheme, so don't repeatedly present the gospel to those. We're not to expose the gospel of Jesus Christ to those who have no other purpose than to trample it and return to their evil ways. It's not our job to force. That's why Jesus talked about shaking the dust of that town or that house off of your feet and walking away. So if you're in a conversation and a particular behavior or act becomes the topic of conversation and it pricks your conscience, and you mention that the Bible calls that particular idea or behavior or act or lifestyle ungodly or worldly or sinful, and the person conversing with you says something along the lines of judge not, then you can immediately discern that what you're saying is not being received. Stop throwing the pearls. It doesn't take the value away from the pearls. It doesn't make the idea, behavior, act, or lifestyle any more acceptable to God. It doesn't change the truth. It's just time to pocket the pearls and walk away, shaking the dust of that conversation off of your feet. That's discernment.